Welcome back to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Leslie Geyer. Today, we're taking a quick look at an essential teaching standard. The teacher works with others to create environments that support individual and collaborative learning and that encourages positive social interactions, active engagement in learning, and self-motivation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Leslie, can you tell us what this standard means?
Of course, at its core, the standard is about making sure students feel safe, valued, and motivated. A strong learning environment isn't just about academics, it's about building relationships, helping students work together, and encouraging them to take ownership of their learning. Teachers model respectful interactions and guide students in how to collaborate, communicate, and stay engaged through meaningful hands on experiences.
Do you have a real world example?
Yeah, one simple example is imagine starting each day with a morning meeting where students share something positive or set a personal goal. This builds trust and community right away. Later, the teacher places students into structured groups with assigned roles like facilitator or recorder, so each student contributes meaningfully and respectfully. This turns collaboration into a practice skill, not just an activity.
So another way for students to feel safe and valued is having them do hug, fist bump, or high fives at the end of the day to say goodbye to the teacher.
Yeah, I love that. Ultimately, this standard is about creating a classroom where students feel connected to you, to each other, and to the learning. When we model positive interaction and design engaging collaborative experiences, students don't just learn content, they grow as thinkers, teammates, and people. Thanks for listening to this short episode of Chalk Talk. See you next time.
All right, welcome back to Chalk Talk. Today we're going to be exploring Standard 7, Planning for Instruction. We're going to be talking about what it is, why it matters, and how it shows up in the real classrooms. Standard 7 is all about how teachers plan effective lessons, not just any lessons that they want, lessons that help every student meet their learning goals. Teachers should be thinking about what context they're teaching, how students learn best, and skills students need across different subjects. Oh, this is not just writing something down on paper, it's intentional decision making. What do students need and what's the best way to get them there?
Now, Kelsey, we love to hear some real world application. Do you have any examples for us today?
Yeah, I have a great one about pizza. So, a teacher's planning a math lesson on fractions, and because the students have been doing so well, she rewards them with pizza. But there's a twist because they got to learn with the pizza. So, she's got two pizzas. One of them she cuts into 1/8, one of them she cuts into 1/12, or 12ths, I guess, and eighths. And then she holds them up and she asks the students, which one do you guys prefer to have? And most of them are going to say the big piece because it's bigger. And then she explains that because the denominator is bigger doesn't mean that the slice of pizza is going to be bigger. It's actually the opposite. And that will help the kids remember that because they'll always remember the pizza and it's not just another worksheet that they forget about.
I love that. I actually have another example. So the students are learning about sun and plant growth. And so all the students can get a plastic cup, and then in the cup it'll have dirt, and they're all going to plant grass. So some of the students are going to put their planted grass in a cabinet, and some of them are going to put it out in the sun. And they're going to do journal observations over the course of 3 weeks to see what they see.
Yeah, that's a great example. Kids love journaling. All right, well, that was Standard 7. Thanks for coming. All right, welcome back to Chalk Talk. I'm your host again, Kelsey Peterson. All right, today we're going to be talking about Standard 8.
Can you explain what Standard 8 is?
Oh my gosh, I would love to. Okay, so Standard 8 focuses on the idea that great teachers don't rely on just one way of teaching. Instead, they use a mixture of strategies, hands-on activities, videos, and group work.
Can you give us some real world examples? I don't know if you're going to beat that pizza one though.
Oh my gosh, I have another one. So if you watched our last episode, Brianna kind of talked about it, but this is also about plant growth. So instead of just reading the textbook, the kids get seeds and they are going to track their growth and they're going to record data over time. And yeah, they work in small groups to compare their results because some are going to succeed and some are not going to succeed. Yeah, so it's a lot of STEM projects that the kids like.
I love that because they're getting out of their seats, they're doing hands-on activities while doing science at the same time. So I think that's a great example.
Yes, we love science. All right, thanks for joining us on Chalk Talk today.
Welcome back to Chalk Talk. I'm your host, Brianna Boltman. Today we are going to break down Standard 9, Professional Learning and Ethical Practice. Effective teachers should take the time to engage in continuous self-reflection and professional growth. They should self-reflect frequently during their teaching. They need to be able to adapt to their learners, families, other professionals, and the community.
Standard 9, can you explain what the standard means?
Yeah, of course. So Standard 9 is all about self-reflection and professional growth. It's about adapting your teaching to meet every learner's needs and using evidence to guide your choices. The main idea is to reflect frequently during teaching. Teachers should ask themselves questions like, are my students understanding?
That sounds amazing. Do you have a real world example for us?
Yeah, I do. I started the lesson with two-digit subtraction problems. I modeled several different strategies so students could see multiple ways to solve. Then I invited students to come to the board and share their strategies with the class. As I presented, the rest of the class worked along with each method. Afterwards, I reflected on which strategies students used most confidently and which ones still caused confusion. Using that information, I planned a follow-up lesson focused on the strategies students needed more support with.
So, what you're saying with this standard is it could look like if students seem disengaged or confused during whole group instruction, instead of continuing the instruction as usual, you can decide to step back and reflect on the teaching, and find a more engaging way of bringing the topics of the lesson in a more hands-on approach, maybe even giving the students a 5-minute brain break to move their bodies before continuing. That's a great perspective to take. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, that is it. That's all I have for you guys. Thanks for joining us on Chalk Talk. Tune in next time.
All right, welcome to our final episode on Chalk Talk about INTASC Standards. I'm your host, Selena Knoll, and on today's episode, we're taking a look at INTASC Standard 10, which is the teacher seeks appropriate leadership roles and collaborates with learners, families, colleagues, school professionals, and the community members to support student growth and advance the profession.
Can you explain Standard 10 in your own words?
Of course I can. Standard 10 outlines the role that the teacher takes in going beyond the classroom walls. This means actively seeking opportunities to support a growth mindset, like finding community partners, collaborating with support staff, and demonstrating professional leadership. These factors directly correlate towards the purpose of working with others to allow for all learners to grow and succeed. This means that a teacher who meets this standard will take initiative to support school-wide needs, collaborate to improve instruction, build meaningful connections with families, and serve as leaders who help unify the school community. This reminds us that we are not alone in this profession.
Do you have a real world example of that?
Yes, and I'd love to share it. So here's my clear example of Standard 10 in action. Imagine a teacher is organizing a school-wide literacy night. They collaborate with grade level teams to create stations that show what literacy looks like across the grades, and families can experience what their children are learning in real time. And it doesn't stop there. The teachers can also invite local librarians, bookshop owners to share community resources. Now you've got school and community working together in a meaningful way. Student leaders can even join in by giving tours of the library or highlighting their favorite books, and everyone becomes a part of the learning experience. The purpose of this event is twofold. One is to highlight the importance of books in our lives and growth, and the other is to promote the critical role of reading in education. The direct collaboration with the school administration and teachers and community members and families will show the outreach of the teachers to lead in growing the connection of outside resources and organizations while developing opportunities within the school with these partners.
Wow. That sounds like even small connections count too. Like when you have a teacher who makes sure to build relationships with families every day, whether that's greeting them warmly at pickup or sharing a quick positive message. Those little moments are leaderships too. I love that.
Of course, and sometimes it can be scary, but it's worth it in the long end. Ultimately, Standard 10 is a reminder that education grows stronger when we work together. When teachers take initiative, collaborate intentionally, and partner with the community, students gain access to richer learning experiences. Thanks for joining us in our INTASC Deep Dive series on Chalk Talk. Next week, we'll begin our new series on classroom management with the author, teacher, and professor, Marissa.